Visit www.firstinspires.org/buildthefuture to share your team's story for a chance to be featured in the Build the Future powered by Star Wars Force for Change. It's now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, a field autonomy engineer at May Mobility, Kettering University alumni, and first alumni, Joel Hurd.
Good morning, Troy. It is good to be here. This is my fourth event this season. And if you don't know me, that's perfectly normal. I'm kind of a nobody. But my name is Joel Hurd. I have been emceeing first events for 7 years. I've been a first alum for 14 years. And for reasons that you're going to find out soon, this is going to be my last season in first for the foreseeable future. And as such, I've been taking the time this season to kind of share some lessons that I've learned that I wish I would have had when I was in your shoes. For me, it all started on kickoff day in 2008 when I tagged along with my older high school friend to Team 470 Alpha Omega Robotics build season kickoff. I ended up being way more into it than my friend was, and I begged the head mentor, this Trudy Adams, if I can get my picture cued, I ended up begging her to let me join the team. And Trudy is an amazing woman. This is actually her at my last robotics banquet in 2013. Obviously, she's the one that taught me how to shrug and broadly gesture at the same time. But she was an English teacher at Ypsilanti High School that swooped in to rescue a robotics team that had just lost its main corporate sponsor and been kicked out of its build space. She was really reluctant to let me join as an 8th grader, but she finally gave in, and I'm super glad she did, because she and Team 470 would end up saving my life 3 years later. Now, our team was awful. We only ever won one award. It was a judge's award, and we only ever made the playoffs 1 year. It was literally and figuratively lunacy, 2009. I appreciate your pity laughs. But I couldn't get enough of it. You see, my robotics team kind of became my family. And you know, in high school, I never was the greatest student, but I always put my fullest effort in. I was kind of always starting strong and then finishing last. And time again, I would have adults in my life, whether they were teachers or just random people commenting from the outside that would say that I was lazy and that I didn't care and that I was wasting my potential. And in my junior year, I got kicked out of Eastern Michigan University's early college program, and that's when I started spiraling. Now, the Early College Alliance was supposed to be my ladder to climb out of poverty. You know, my dad was a bus driver, my mom was a secretary for the church we grew up in. We did not have money, and I knew I didn't want to lead that life. I didn't want my kids to have to worry about, you know, like, are we going to lose the house this year? And I blew it. I completely blew it. Everything people had always said about me was right. I let myself down, I let my parents down, and when I went back to Ypsilanti High School, I was in way easier classes and still struggling. I genuinely wondered what was wrong with me. I hated myself, and I genuinely wanted to kill myself. But just in time, the 2012 build season started, and it gave me a place to crawl out of my room and forget about my failures and be encouraged by adults that I respected every single night. Now, the machine shop was effectively like Trudy Adams' home for wayward youth. There was a lot of misfits there, and I was definitely included in that. And he noticed about a week into the build that something going on with me. And she asked me, I spilled the deeds, and he shared with me a poem that starts like this, by Dylan Thomas. It says, "Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light." And she encouraged me, and she told me to keep fighting, to keep searching for solutions, that this didn't have to be the end for me. And funny enough, a couple of months ago, she shared an updated version on her Facebook that I figured I'd share as well. "Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Refuse to be stored in black plastic sacks and placed in the containers provided." That one also spoke to me because, I was trying to refuse to be placed into the containers of being a lazy, good-for-nothing, loser. And so that was what it took for me to start researching learning disabilities and to talk to my doctor about my problems. And that's how I discovered I'd been living with undiagnosed ADHD my entire life. So that's kind of when I started picking up the pieces. I got medicated, I started going to therapy, which is awesome, by the way. I'm still doing it today. And I worked my butt off my senior year and ended up graduating with a cumulative GPA of 2.6. Not too shabby, right? Kettering thought it was kind of shabby. But they told me to go to community college, and I did. I got my skills up. I transferred to Kettering, and I graduated with my bachelor's in mechanical engineering. And with the resources provided from Kettering, I ultimately got into the best 2 business schools in the world. And so that's why this is my last season in First, because in the fall, I will be attending Harvard. Now, I know what you're thinking. Joel, first of all, you're being very long-winded, and second of all, what does any of this have to do with me? Well, I will tell you. I owe a great deal of debt to people like Trudy Adams. I owe a great deal of debt to people like Woody Flowers, people who gave up their time, who gave up their energy to just be here for us, right? And I've spoken at previous competitions about how First as a whole is just a micro ecosystem of love and empowerment, and we're all standing on the shoulders of giants who are standing on the shoulders of other giants, who are standing on the shoulders of Woody Flowers. And I still believe that, But for my juniors and my seniors out here, the time is coming for you to think about, what does my life look like after First? Now, First in Michigan and First all across the country has been really hit hard by the pandemic. We lost a lot of teams, we lost a lot of mentors, and we've lost a lot of volunteers. And these competitions don't run for free, It takes a lot of elbow grease, and Srini's only got 2 elbows, so we need more. And so, on that side of things, I want to challenge you. It's not too soon. As a junior, that's when I started volunteering, doing field reset. It's a great way to see matches if you're into the robots, and if you hate robots, you can be a safety glasses attendant. There's multiple ways to help. But that's ultimately how I got here to game announcing. And then there's the other side of things. You might say, I really love my mentors and the role that they've played in my life. Maybe I want to do that too. I would recommend doing that the right way. There's nothing wrong with that. Say you're graduating. Don't try to be a mentor on the team that you grew up on, because they're just going to think you're an older student, and they're not going to listen to you. And let's be honest, if you really want to do it because you want to help people, there are no shortage of other teams in your area that certainly need that help. Now, if you're just trying to get one more year of the glory days, maybe don't mentor. But all this is to say that inside me is Trudy Adams and Steve Martin and Virginia Murphy and Scott Schaefer and all the people that spoke into my life. And inside me is Woody Flowers. And we are the legacy of everything that they have done. And it is all of our responsibility to take that gift that they have given us and continue to give back. Just a quick show of hands. Of all my volunteers in the house, how many are first alumni? They get it. And it's time for the rest of us to step up, right? It's with great sadness, if I can get the next picture, that I share. Trudy lost her battle with cancer this past week. And I don't think she would want a moment of silence, but for everything she did for this podunk team in Ipsy that never won anything, was filled with good-for-nothing kids that everybody else wrote off, I think she deserves a moment of celebration, or at the very least, a moment of rage. Thank you guys for everything.